I am so honored to welcome Joe Saul-Sehy to the Sunlight Tax Podcast. Here is a little bit about Joe. Joe destroyed his credit immediately after leaving home and learned about money the hard way. Today, he's co-host of Stacking Benjamins, one of the most listened to podcasts in the personal finance sphere. Kiplinger's Personal Finance has called his show the best personal finance podcast, and Fast Company has described it as striking a great balance between fun and functional. Saul-Sehy lives in Texarkana with his spouse Cheryl and cat Cooper, recording shows in his mom's basement, like most podcasters. Welcome to the show, Joe. Joe, I am so happy that you are here. Thank you for joining me on the Sunlight Podcast. Welcome.
I am so happy. I'm only here, Hannah, to announce my retirement because it doesn't get any better. I mean, is there anything that's better than this?
No. And I'm much later to the podcast game than you, but I'm honored to have an OG with me. Not OG from your show.
Right.
And OG.
Right.
Yeah, I want to say I've been reading your book because this goes out on video. I can show it here, but I've been reading
look at that
your
beautiful
book,
thing.
Stacked, for those of you listening in the audio. And I never laughed so much at a personal finance book. I have to tell you, like, this is a really funny book, and I just enjoyed it. Like, I did it because it was homework for our episode, but I really loved it. It's so good.
Well, it was funny when we were writing it. My co-author, Emily Guy Birkin, has a long history of writing great finance books. Her big one is called The 5 Years Before You Retire. Mm-hmm. Because it was my first book. I was a creative writing major, by the way. It was a long, wild, I mean, you're similar, right? An artist doing taxes. I'm a creative writing guy doing, personal financial planning for 16 years and now financial media. So I knew how to write, but I didn't know how to make a book that publishers would want and how the whole system worked. So partnering up with Emily was great, but I had an audience, Hannah, of one, and Emily will tell you this too. My sole goal was to make my expert friend Emily laugh. That was my whole goal. So I sent her my half chapters and I went, I can't wait for Emily to read this. I can't wait for her to read this. And then she would send them back to, she would send me her chapters and her goal was to make me laugh. And it was, It was super fun. Just writing a couple nerds writing for each other.
I think that's the best. I'm going to go out on a limb and say all the best writing, art, music, it kind of has an audience of one in a way, because that vague, like, people out there in the world, it's not like there's something wonderful about really specifically, this human being in the world. I'm going to make them laugh.
It's funny you say that because, I've heard from so many authors, as a guy who's written a ton of short stories and has written a lot of stuff, but never has written a novel or a big book like this, how hard it is. All I kept hearing from you is how hard it was. Hannah, there was nothing hard about this. I would set myself a goal of 2,000 words. We would dive into that 2,000. I would dive into that 2,000 words, sometimes with the help of a good foamy beverage, sitting on this deck in this place we were staying this summer in Vermont. And I would just start pounding out words. And next thing you know, Cheryl, my spouse, is sitting inside and she said, I would just hear you out there cracking yourself up. I'm laughing out loud while I'm just banging away on and I got to, it was joy. The only part that's hard that you may know is, the last couple passes through it after you've been through the book 87 times looking for typos. And then of course, the day it comes out, you find one more. But you're looking for typos.
I can't wait for that to happen to me. We're through the proofing process, so officially it's unchangeable. Yeah, then of course they passed a ginormous tax bill immediately after I had to submit my proofs.
Of course,
it was unchangeable. I was like, thank you for that timing.
yes, happens every time. We list a bunch of apps that we like when we're talking about setting up your dashboard, because I think it's important that people have a good, easy to follow dashboard. It's even if you've got great stuff, if you don't know how it all works together, it's horrible. But in there we go, hey, here's some apps I like. Like literally within 6 months, 2 of them went under.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I want to update. I feel like it's too early to ask, but maybe I'll just throw this question in now. I was going to ask you for just exactly that, some tech that you like. Do you want to just do it because we're talking about it?
Oh, sure. And like any tech, I think it begins with who you are and where you're trying to go.
Agreed. I think the best tech is the one that you are going to actually use.
100%. I'll start with the one that I use personally.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Monarch Money. What people might not like about it first is you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
I also believe that if you don't pay for it, you are what they're marketing. So I know where this company's making their money. The guy, Val, who's one of the founders and main creators of it, he was one of the early people at Mint. Mint is this app that goes way, way back that used to be fantastic before it got filled with a bunch of ads. Mint was free.
Yeah.
And Val, frankly, didn't like that it was free. He did like the fact that you would get these cool alerts. It was easy to set up. And so Monarch Money for me is truly all of the good stuff of Mint without you being marketed. What I also like about it is my wife is not a money geek. And because there's two of us planning together, and even for just one person planning, whether you're single or you're married, just the simplicity of the interface, how easy it is to get into it. So for people that truly aren't money nerds, they just want to know where things are.
Yeah.
It gives you a very easy to use, customizable snapshot picture. In fact, every time I go into Monarch, this is cool. It goes, hey, can we show you 10 slides? Just give you the update on where you are. And you literally just flip through 10 slides and it updates your financial life based on all of, you hook it up to all of your financial stuff once. It's easy to go. And I'll give you one more. Going to give you one more. For people that really have trouble like I used to with just keeping track of money and being good about it, YNAB. YNAB, You Need a Budget, that community is a freaking cult.
It is a cult. I have learned this. I've been on their podcast, and yes, the people who are into it are so into it, and they're evangelical.
So evangelical. And by the way, I do say, I love Jesse. I love what he's built. And to build a product that people love that much is just a testament to what he and his team, the love they poured into that. But this is the idea that before you get $1, you give it a job. And so I would encourage people to go back and listen to your discussion with Jesse, because at the beginning of a month or whenever you get a paycheck, the money's already allocated. YNAB then keeps track of your bank account. And as you spend money, it just tells you how much of your money that you've allocated. It's almost like the envelope system, you know?
I think it's based on that.
Yeah, updated for today. So for people that really need a lockdown budget, YNAB. For people that want to make it easy and kind of colorful and fun, and I'm very busy, Monarch works. And then if you're a true nerd, I like Tilder Money.
I love it. That's great. I do want to clarify a little bit about the audience for this show. It's not spreadsheet nerds.
Super.
I think I am a pretty good example. I'm a little further down the path, I'd say, than the audience, but I'm a good example, the earlier version of me, like feeling a little bit like money is not our thing at all. And like being a little scared of it historically, and being like, I need a little permission slip to like get into this, and I feel scared that somebody's going to judge me about all the mistakes I've made.
Well, that's awesome, because as you know, that's our Stacking Benjamins audience. I mean, that's the
nice.
That's the nerds don't like us because we mess around too much.
Well, I think, I think that's why I vibe with you so much, and I love it. In fact, one of the things I wanted to ask you is can you, because I really love how like upfront and vulnerable you are with, just in a funny way, of just like how much you've screwed up. Like, I feel the same. I'm the same. In fact, I will stop embarrassing stories if you want to.
Can you tell us, Joe, what an F up you are? Because that'll be really motivating.
Well, somebody was asking me the other day, like, why I how this person who's a professional artist could possibly then go on to become a tax expert. And I was like, no, but that's actually the reason. It's because I'm such a fuck up. That's why people like to learn from me, because if I can do it, they're like, no, if she can do it, I can definitely do it.
I love that. So no, I messed up really, really, really bad at the beginning. My family, like most families, didn't talk about money. Whenever my sister, brother, and I would come in the room, my parents, who were loving people who taught me how to work hard, like there's going to be no memoir where I'm throwing mom and dad under the bus. They were like everybody else. You didn't talk about it. And whenever they were talking about money, we had to leave the room. So I march off to college, halfway across the nation from me. I was at the Citadel, which is much closer to you in Charleston, South Carolina. And so I get to the Citadel. I'm there at the end of the first week, Hannah. I noticed there is this table, this awesome table where they're giving away, I don't remember if it was like a beach blanket or pizza or something. And I get in the line and it's for an American Express card. And so, and now, by the way, this is illegal now for everybody who's not an old guy like me.
For good reason.
For such good reason. What's scary is, as you know, Hannah, they find other ways around it, right? They will still get to the college kid. But
yeah.
So I wait in line. I sign up for the credit card. I'm very honest. I'm at a military college. I'm making $0. I have $0 coming in, number one. Yeah. Number two is I have no credit history. I also have had no experience at all with plastic. My parents would often pay cash for stuff from a farming family in redneck West Michigan. Like, we stayed away from credit cards. So, but you know what happens? 2 weeks later, I get this cool green card, member since right now, and I'm like, this is fantastic. So the first Saturday that we get leave as freshmen, we go out to this mall in North Charleston, the North Charleston Mall, and I go immediately like a magnet to the most expensive store in the mall, Nordstrom. I go immediately to Nordstrom. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. I buy right off the mannequin this beautiful Nautica sweater, which was like this purple with this kind of cool Duran Duran look around. I mean, it's 1986.
I can totally picture it. Yep. You're picturing yourself on a boat.
It cost $1 bajillion. It was so expensive. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, and I can wear a sweater like this 2 days a year, and I have to wear a uniform to school. So why the hell I go to buy a thing that I can't even wear in a place where you're not going to wear it? That's just what. And the cool thing was, I didn't have to use any money. I just gave them the card and they were good. And then I hooked up with these brand new friends I have, and I'm a guy from Michigan and South Carolina, and I'm just trying to get along with these other kids, these other guys, these other freshmen. We go to this high-end restaurant at the other end of the mall. You may have heard of it. It's called Ruby Tuesday. It's this very high-end place. They had a salad bar and everything. Yeah. But we get done with lunch and the waiter comes over with the bill, and me just trying to make friends. No idea how it works, except I got this little plastic card. I said, I got it. I buy everybody their lunch, right? And so this activity continues for another 2.5, 3 weeks. And then the first bill comes. Like, I remember, and this is, I'm so old. This is before it, email. So the most exciting thing I could do in school was to march down to Mark Clark Hall, where all of our mailboxes were, and they were in this row, and you had this glass in front of it. And Hannah, whenever I would see a letter in my mailbox, you get all fired up because somebody, is it my mom? Is it a relative? Is it this girl I just met on the plane out to the Citadel that I was writing back and forth to? Like, who was it going to be? I open it up and it's a letter from American Express. And I seriously thought it was like a thank you. Like, we're a great team. I give you plastic and you spend it. Like, that is awesome. Like, thank you for taking your friends out. And I open it up, and the last thing on my mind was that this might be a bill. And it's a bill. And they're like, you got to pay this. And, it's an American Express card, so you got to pay it all right now.
Yeah.
So I did what any smart person would do. I called my mom. And I said, Mom, have you ever, there's a book out there called The 1 Minute Manager. And then there's a series of books. There's a great book called The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey. And The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey goes like this. If anybody has ever worked for somebody or you've had direct reports, you know this to be true. Somebody walks into the person working for the boss walks into the boss's office and says, Boss, we have a problem. The problem is the monkey on the back of the worker's neck, right? Hanging on their neck. When I walk into your office, Hannah, if I work for you and I say, Hannah, we've got a problem, I've just slung one of the monkey's arms around your neck when I said, we have a problem. And then a lot of bosses, not seeing this technique, will go, I'll take care of it because I know how to take care of it. And then I get to leave. And I've got no monkey behind me. And now you are stuck with the problem that I walked into the office with. So I was trying to do this to my mom. But I hadn't read that book yet, right?
I totally know where this is going. You
I
have a
said,
smart mom.
Mom, we have a problem. And Mom, seeing the monkey, goes, no, you have a problem. And I said, but I don't have a job. And she goes, I think you should have thought about that. Now, could my parents, like a lot of parents have taught me about this, yeah, but once again, I'm not throwing them under the bus. Nobody, I talk to listeners of our show all the time. Nobody did this, and so I immediately, about 60 days later, the card was gone. It was taken away. I spent the next summer, because of all the stupid interest and late fee penalties, I spent that summer cleaning it up. And that was the first time I touched the stove. I continued to touch the stove. Even when I was a brand new financial planner, I kept messing up because I thought at the time, by the way, I was really good at financial planning. I taught all these people how to do great things with their money that I had been taught, and they worked. But for some dumbass reason, I didn't think the rules of the universe applied to Joe. Like, I can tell other people to do this, but I'm not doing any of this crap. And then it got so bad that by 1998, and at this time, I've been a financial planner for 5 years, I was so screwed financially. I was so screwed. I owed money on so many fronts. The IRS was after me because I didn't understand taxes. Again, giving other people tax advice, I didn't understand it. Once I did understand it, I was already way too far gone. Mm-hmm. And I decided to do the smart thing, which is don't file your taxes, which, Hannah, is the best solution. It's a great solution. Don't file, because if you ignore it, the problem gets better. And
and so does your sleep. Your sleep is really...
And anybody else who gave me credit, those people, calling me, creditors calling me. And there were two things that I needed to fix. Number one was the biggest lie I think we all have is that if I just make more money, I will solve this problem, which can be true. But you have to couple that with good financial systems to take care of the issue. I had to learn how to automate money so that it went to the right place and it wasn't in my hands. And Cheryl and I had to create a weekly discussion about money so that she could and I could hold myself accountable. So different than a lot of people may know this guy in the radio, Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey talks about how you should always use cash because credit, and I know this, is this, you can easily overspend. Well, for me, because I have a weekly meeting with my wife about money, I know that credit is accountable. And so when we have our meeting and we look through our bills together, I know that Joe's dumb purchase is going to appear in that meeting. So I don't make them.
Yeah.
But if I have a dollar bill in my wallet, like I got $2 I'm showing to people on video right now, this money, Hannah, is gone. Like I know myself, so this is not accountable. I will spend this $2 on the dumbest stuff possible. I have no idea why. I'm 57 years old. I still do it. So what do? I never have cash. I never. In fact, I'm surprised that was just sitting there as a prop because I frankly don't have any cash. So that was number one. Number one is you can't out earn your bad habits.
Yeah.
You have to earn more and have locked down systems, great habits. And then the second thing was I had to surround myself with people that had the heart of a teacher. I had to have a good team around me. And there was a wonderful accountant who pulled me out of this. Her name is Sue Virgin. Sue's got the most amazing name, number one. And number two, she follows it up with being just a wonderful person. I had tax help that were tax preparers. And by the way, I threw them all under the bus. But they also didn't teach me what I needed to know to be successful.
Both sides of that coin are very common. The tax preparer who is overworked, not charging enough, going really fast, and not going to pause to teach you anything, and might be even feeling a little resentful because they're so overworked. And I would like to have a pricing conversation with them. That's the other part, is they act defensively because they have to, because that's super common. It's one of the hazards of being an accountant is that people will be your best friend and they're so grateful when things go well and it's great. And then the second the IRS comes calling, you're like, it's my accountant's fault. So every accountant knows this.
It's horrible.
And it's a really rough position to be in, just knowing that even clients who say they love you are going to blame you when shit goes bad.
Well, and I think there's
Worse.
two. I think there's two sides to that. I think
Yeah.
we need our accountant to teach us,
Yes.
so we need to ask a lot of questions of our accountant. And I think we need to make that plain, which I didn't do.
Yeah.
Which I totally do now. And on the other side, I feel like the accountant would get into less trouble if they followed Sun Tzu, The Art of War says that the best battle is the one you never fight. So if you lay out the battlefield ahead of time and say, hey, here's what's coming,
Yes.
these things are coming. And this is what Sue did when I trusted Sue finally to overcome my shame, because I was a well-known financial planner who's in a heap of trouble, not filing his taxes and with a mountain of credit card debt. And I walk into her office and I expose my shame. She immediately showed me the road about where this was going first. And she said, you know what? People at the IRS are overworked, but they're nice. They're not trying to screw you. And
Yeah.
if you just, if you tell them what's going on with you, they will tell you what the options are and we will figure it out. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come clean with the IRS. And then we're going to go through these back taxes and we're going to figure it out. And then the third thing is I'm going to tell you what actually is deductible, so that, because this is what I did to throw my first accountant under the bus. I walk into his office on, I think, like April 11th. I'm a first year financial planner. I've made $85,000 and it's 1993. So take, inflation, and you can just, based on that year, you can almost that's like making between 200 to 250,000 now.
Yeah, it was great money for that year.
I was cha-chinging. I was very good in my first year, but it was all 1099 income, right? And guess how much money I'd set aside for taxes?
I have a guess. I think
Yes.
it was like this amount.
It was very close to that amount. Yes. I'm like, I got this. This is going to be fine. I'll just walk in there. And so then Bill goes, oh, it's pretty late in the game. I'm like, dude, I give you like 4 days. Like, how hard is this? Turns out now I know it's way, way, way harder. And if I would have done some tax planning, this would have gone way better. But then he's like, okay, well, tell me what we can deduct, like what your expenses are. I'm like, what do you mean? So I go through and I find my Office Max when I bought pencils. I find like basically $25 of deductions, which to me felt like a ton. I mean, it wasn't $25, but it definitely wasn't anywhere near what I could have done had I known what I should have been giving him. And I give him that. And of course, he comes back with this monster number that I owe. And I got incredibly angry at him. Incredibly angry. I'm like, how could you do this to me? Like, what the hell? Do you even know what you're doing? Of course he knew what he was doing, but he didn't teach me any of that stuff. And Sue sat me down and actually walked me through the 1040 and how it works. And then walked me through all the pages that you use when you're trying to deduct stuff from your taxes, like literally the IRS pages. And she's like, and this office deduction and this, if you use this in the office. I'm like, I never knew that. Oh my goodness. So I ended up several years later paying the IRS about $90,000 in back taxes, most of which were a stupidity tax. I probably owed a fraction of that. And certainly based on the amount of that was also penalties because it was overdue. So anyway, that was problem number one. Problem number two, and I'll keep this one shorter, is that you got to surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
You truly need a group of people that you can rely on around you to keep yourself thinking about the right things, focused on what's important. And so you can just do what is your unique talent. My unique talent is building our creative stuff to teach people money. It isn't sitting with the spreadsheet open.
Yeah. 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 I love that. Actually, I just want to mention that I was sitting with your book and doing the exercises. And, I feel like I've read a gazillion approximately financial, personal finance books. But I had never done a timeline before. And you have this recommendation to draw a timeline. Of course, anytime somebody's like, go ahead and draw, I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, I got that assignment. So I drew it out. I'll show you. I have it right here. Here's my timeline.
Oh, look at you. Awesome.
There's me waving a dollar bill. at the end.
And doesn't it solve so many problems?
Well, I had some real moments with it. I was like, cuz it is really interesting to look at, like, you know, I have 2 children. I would like both of them to go to college. I would like to retire, and I also would like my kitchen to be different from how it is now. I was like, "Oh, these like, some of these overlap with each other, and those are gonna be big, big, big years." So, just seeing those timelines also, I mean, just the kind of, like, that, like, moment I'm in my mid-40s, and I just was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
retirement is not so far away." Like,
Can we dive into that for a second?
yes, please.
What I love about the timeline, I'm so glad that you did that, is that what people would always want when I began as a financial planner was they were like, give me the best of this.
Mhm.
Give me the best thing. And and I have no idea what best means. I
Yeah.
mean, let's just take Joe, I've got this long-term goal, give me the best. And I go, okay, well, if you're just starting out, maybe a good index fund like the total stock market index is a fine place to start. It's a great place to start. So I would call that the best. And then Hannah, you come back to me and you go, wait a minute. I just looked at this thing. I own a little bit of every stock out there. I can never get rich quick on this thing. And I'm like, oh, your definition of best was more volatility. Well, for that, then I would think that this stock would be the best because this company is making, let's say, some cool environmental thing. They're desalinating water so that we have more water sources or whatever it
Mhm.
is. And so that is best. And you go, well, man, but I looked at that. That company's got no track record. And then I go, oh, track record is best. Well, then let's go to Microsoft or Nvidia because they have this history of doing this.
Yeah.
Or you tell me you're like, well, best means I don't lose a dime. Like this goal is in 5 years. What if I lost? So best drove me crazy during my career.
Yeah.
And then I realized that best truly means for me, if we can define best as I know the time horizon of my goal and I know how much money I need to save,
Mhm.
then I know which investment historically has gotten me there with the highest probability of making a good return and the money being available when I want it. So I'm from West Michigan again, and I worked in cornfields as a kid. We had a gigantic garden. So I always think, Hannah, about growing season. In fact, there's a ton of bad growing season jokes in my book. Um,
Yes, I noticed.
everything is about harvesting your investments at the right time. But think about this. If I have a stock and I buy a stock and I want to sell it 4 days later, like even people that don't know the stock market go, well, that's ridiculous. Do we know if it's going to go up or down? No, we have no idea. It's
Yeah.
horrible growing seeds, like planting a seed and then pulling it out and going, why the hell didn't you give me corn yet?
Yeah.
So, but if I have 15 years, it's a fantastic growing season. So the first thing is it makes it easier to determine best if I know that. But the
Yeah.
second thing that's ultimately cooler is on your budget front. So as Hannah went through this and looks at all the different budgets I have to save for these different goals, what I absolutely hated at first, but I loved later, was often there's not enough money for all these goals. And I hate that, right? You always want more money. So if you're asking for raises, this will tell you how much to ask for. Because, to meet my goal, this is what I have to kind of aim for is make X amount of money.
Mhm.
But even better than that, if you can't make more money, I love the fact that you're taking all these goals and you're putting them in this arena like it's a MMA cage match. And you go, oh,
Yeah.
okay, Hannah, you've got two choices. You can retire later and you pay for all your kids' college,
Mhm.
or you retire on the day that you set down in this timeline, but your kids have to figure out a way to pay for part of it. Which
Yep.
one would you do?
Mhm.
And now we're not talking about money anymore. We're talking about values. And we're talking about which goal supersedes the other one. And we have these wonderful discussions about what is most important to me. And by the way, everybody had which one won,
Yeah.
but it was different for every person. Everybody's like, duh, I would retire. Or they go, duh, no, no, no. Education's way more important. I'll retire a few years later. I kind of like my job. We push that
Totally.
back.
Well, I think you put it really beautifully in the book. Like, you go through this exercise of, like, adjusting a little bit, like, like, if you're gonna be rigid on every single one of these steps on the timeline, it you don't have enough money is frequently the answer. But you give this really nice walkthrough of like, well, do I have to retire at 60? Could it be 62? Do I have to pay for 100% of my kids' college? Or maybe I agree to pay for 3/4 and they come up with the other quarter. That just makes it so much more humane. And I think, like you're saying, it puts some color on the like, what is my unadjustable goal, like highest value I am not going to flex on? And what are the things like it forces you to determine which one kind of sits above the others and where else you have some flex. It's
Uh,
very humane.
Well, and ultimately, I think what it does also is, my problem with the personal finance community, with the money nerds that are neither your audience nor mine. So we can talk about them here
We're
because
like,
they're
they're
because they're not
regular
here.
people.
These weirdo money nerds is that a lot of times they want to optimize, Hannah, for what's the quick and dirty approach.
Mhm.
And in my next book, I'm spending a lot of time talking about how I think optimizing for quick and dirty is the devil. Because the other thing I've found through the years is that if it's more thoughtful and contemplative and you own it, you seriously own this goal, you're
Mhm.
less likely to blow it up on the way there. Because
Definitely.
the big problem I had during my career was not that the strategy was bad, it was that the market would change and my client would blow it up. They
Mm.
would just go, "Oh yeah, I can't take this volatility." Well, wait a minute. 6 months ago, we agreed that this volatility was well within your risk tolerance, and now it's not. And
Yeah.
all we need to do is hang on because we know this reversion of the mean, it's going to come back. Either that or we all got to go find a cave and a gun. Like
Mhm.
we've got two choices here. It's going to come back or it won't, and I don't want to go into won't.
Yeah.
So if it is going to come back, we just need to hold. And I would have people go, no, no. And these were my biggest failures. I felt that I
Mhm.
wasn't able to teach people that I needed to not be my plan. I needed to be your plan, because when it's your plan and you understand enough of it, that when this funky stuff happens to your plan, you're going to hang on and you're going to keep with it. You're going to stay with it. So I
Mhm.
see people do these quick things. Oh, I just want a fund that's like just going to get me directionally there. Well, if I build an asset allocation of maybe 2 or 3 funds, which sounds so hard and is not. If I build an asset allocation of 2 or 3 funds and things start happening to those, I pick them and they're like my babies. And I understand why I would have them and why I would get rid of them. I'm not going to blow up my plan if I know this is my most important thing I'm saving for, second most important thing I'm saving for, third most important thing.
Mhm. Yeah. I agree. That's awesome. It's so true that you need to feel it in yourself to like stick with it.
You totally do.
It's also like easy to be really risk aggressive when the market's doing great. And then when you see the other side of what risk aggressive means, you're like, "Oh, I need to hold on." Well, with that stomach dropping like roller coaster feeling as the market kind of takes a dive.
It's so
It's
hard.
it's so hard. I mean, I think it's one of the most hilarious jokes of the universe to me that as a young person, I have this impression, I think perpetuated a little bit by the financial industry, that money was somehow objective and, just the truth. And what I find so funny and interesting and kind of wonderful is that it's so emotional. I mean, it's just, and investing is the most emotional. You have to touch on fear and risk and,
Well, and think about, well, not even that. Also, I mean, let's add on to that because 100%, Hannah, all of what you said, 100%. But also think about this: when people would get money from an inheritance and where that money came from, and
Mhm.
what you would think the person that gave you that money would have wanted.
Mm,
And a dollar bill is a dollar bill is a dollar. There's no emotion here, to your point, but there's so much emotion depending on how we came by the money as well. Like
absolutely.
we bring all this value or shame, like we talked about earlier, all these feelings to the money that really, when we sort through those and we get straight on, okay, this is the way that I need this to go. Like I love this idea of using that emotion as my friend and letting that work for me. If it's an inheritance, to be able to sit with it maybe for a year and think about it and really plan it out.
Mhm.
Does it matter what my dad wanted this money for? Does it not matter? Does it? And that's going to be an individual answer. What would dad be happy with? Do I care if dad would be happy with this? And then once I put the plan, that gives me time to put the plan together. And then once I know that this is the thing that I'm going to do, and I gave it some thought and I spent some time on it, man, this is like it's like a rock rolling downhill then. Like
Mm,
you've got a lot of emotion behind that money, but it's emotion that is now working for you. And you
yeah.
know what? I found my clients that had that were unstoppable. Were
I
just
love
unstoppable.
that. I love that. I mean, I say to people like, money is your fights with your partner. It's your relationship with your father. It is it is the way that society sees you and values you or doesn't. And, a lot of people that I work with in the arts really feel almost set up for themselves, and I include myself in this historically, like an alternate valuation system because they're so poorly paid for what they do,
Right.
and asked to work for free and, just all
No,
this
no, no.
stuff.
Hannah, it's not free. It's exposure.
Oh my gosh, you can die of exposure.
The biggest joke in the arts. I'll give you exposure.
Ugh, yeah,
Great. Good.
yeah. Can't wait to pay my bank, mortgage with that exposure.
Why don't you just tell your bank that?
Yeah,
Just go,
yeah,
hey, I'll tell all my friends about you.
mhm.
If you forego my mortgage payment, I'll tell everybody I know to bank
Ye
at this bank.
yeah, totally. Oh, yeah, to be honest, I many podcast episodes ahead on this topic, but, I have found my relationship with the art world kind of really shifted now once my source of income really shifted away from it and I started having a little more objective view of like what that treatment really felt like to me. I mean, I was feeling it at the time, but sort of putting it on a shelf because I was dependent upon it. And now that I'm not, it's given me more of the freedom to be like, that was really messed up, you know?
Do you know what's interesting is that as a guy who loves art and as a guy that was a creative writing major
Yeah.
and a guy who tries, if you went through, if you were here and you could go through my house, you'd see some of the beautiful art that we have. I noticed that too many artists, to your point, devalue their own work
Mm,
and could charge a lot more than they do. And it's funny because I set my expectation as a guy who's just an appreciator of art based on what you charged,
mhm.
which sounds really backwards, but I think it's true. If if I see a piece of work of yours and it says that it's $35, I think it's $35 art. But
Mhm.
if you had that same picture and you told me as a guy who is not an expert in art but goes to art galleries that this is $1,200 and it's the same exact piece, I value that work at $1,200.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I remember my uncle who was, rest in peace, very wise man, and I've done a lot of working at nonprofits and, for good causes in my life alongside art, also notoriously underpaid. And
Right.
he gave me this warning. He was like, "Hannah, really watch out. Be careful in this world because I find it can be a little exploitative." And I was thinking, "What are you talking about? I'm helping other people not be exploited by working here." And he's like, "No, you because that thing when you're working for a good cause, you can get this really messed up relationship with the sort of how you get paid for that. It's an expectation that you're passionate, and whenever passion is part of the payment you're getting, you got to be aware there's some other stuff operating that can over time feel exploitative towards you." And I was absolute like, it really changed my thinking when he said that, and I had never noticed it before. I had bought the framing that was given to me, and he shifted the frame for me, and
Wow.
it really changed my view, but I see it all the time. I don't think the arts are alone at all. I think a lot of people working in nonprofits, a lot of people who are really driven by a mission, driven by a passion, can get stuck in this, like, actually feeling not like money is neutral, which I think is healthy. I think
Sure.
money is a tool, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not good, but it's also not bad. It's just a tool. It's like a hammer. But as soon as you start, like, when you're in a world of people who are like you, severely underpaid based on their skills and passion and work ethic, you can start to get this attitude that money is the thing that's bad. And as soon as you shift your mindset from money is neutral to money is bad, you start undercutting yourself in every daily decision that you make about money. It actually is a very terrible, toxic attitude that just a little correction mindset wise on that can help you kind of get out of a bad place with money.
I'm thinking about something that a mentor told me a long time ago, and I'm kind of working through this as you're speaking, Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
I could just imagine the shame then that you would have when you get a raise. You know what I mean? You get a raise and you're like, but this is money that could go to feed the whatever, could go to do the thing. And instead it's wasted on me.
Yep.
And, but then I also think about what a mentor told me once, which was, and this was near the end of my first year. And when you're in financial planning or anything affiliated with money, I think the universe may not know this. I think most people do know. I knew it even before I got in that it washes through a ton of people. It takes a lot of people to make a person who sticks in the world of financial services. Like most people wash out. It's a lot of communication with one-on-one people. A lot of people aren't very good at it. It also, you're paid based on how persuasive you can be. And so it is very, very, very difficult for a lot of people. And I remember this mentor getting up in front of a small group of us and saying, your client only wins if you're still here. And the only way that you can still be here is if you are well paid. So your client needs you to want to be well paid. And you have to turn this around in your head that if you're not worried about money at work, you can just focus on their problem. Then and you can show up 100% for them. You can't do that when you're worried about where the next paycheck's going to come from or where dinner's going to come. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So and I know this was the problem that charitable giving got into for a while, was all these metrics around how little money do they spend. And then smart people started to realize that if you want people that can actually add more impact, you have to pay them.
Yes.
And it's not about lowering expenses as much as it is about increasing impact. So I love these newer metrics we've seen the last several years around impact versus, what percentage goes toward administration.
I think that's so true. Very wise. I feel like I spend actually an enormous amount of my time as an educator trying to make the argument to people that they actually really do need to put the oxygen mask on themselves first.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's just really true. I mean,
and I think artists need to hear that especially a lot.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's a hard thing. I mean, because there's a lot of lack of control when you're an artist, and that makes the money stuff really difficult. I mean, like, I work through a gallery. I have a contractual obligation not to make sales on my own. I actually have to go through the gallery. And that indirect relationship with my source of money, it makes it hard. It's a hard relationship.
Yeah, because you'd love to be one-on-one. I actually have that with the podcast. We used to sell our own ads for the podcast.
Yeah.
And now I don't. And now sometimes I'm reading this, and we get to say no to ads we don't like for the podcast. And we say yes to ones that we do. So our advertisers are brands that I like, but I used to get direct feedback about, oh, Joe, I loved it when you said that. And now there's somebody at Cumulus, the second biggest radio network, where we're contracted through them. We own the podcast, but it's through them that I never get any feedback. So, you're not at the gallery all the time. It's hard to know. Can I give one piece of advice that works really well before we go for the artist community, especially?
Absolutely. Please.
So the big problem that you have, a lot of people have, is that you have these boom bust cycles, meaning you will sell something that's a big piece. You'll do a big presentation, whatever it is, and you'll get a ton of money. And then you'll get no money, no money, no money, no money. And by the way, I went through this because I got paid when my clients paid me. So my income was uneven. And Sue, the CPA that I work with, helped me set this up after I had set this up for other people. But what you will do so much better if you have a set budget every 2 weeks. Because if you don't have a set budget monthly, every 2 weeks or whatever it is, what happens is you you're living on ramen noodles, ramen noodles. And then you get this monster paycheck. And because you have money scarcity built into your brain and you're not sure when you're going to get it, you do a huge blowout. And not everybody, but a bunch of people do. A lot of people do. You buy the big screen TV now. You go out for the big expensive steak dinner that you truly can't afford. So you go bust, boom, spend all the money, and then back to ramen noodle. Nobody wants to live on either one of those. You don't want to be frenetic about your spending, and then you don't want to live on nothing the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So once you have a number that you brought in the last maybe couple years, you have a couple years of runway, look back over those years and go over a 6-month period, about what do I expect? Take about 25% less than that, and then begin paying yourself either once a month or every couple weeks a set paycheck. You have to start when you get that big check in the bank at first, and you set this in a separate business account, and then you have an automatic deposit into your main account so that now you can set up, this is the amount that I'm going to live on, and you start treating yourself like an employee of your own company. And then once every 6 months or once every year, you give yourself a bonus, which is a percentage of whatever's left. And what happens over time too, Hannah, that I found is that people start getting excited about the bonus. Oh, look at all this money in my business account.
Yeah.
And then that's when you make the big purchase, and that's okay. And that's what that money's for.
Right.
But you learn to save based on this 2-week income. You learn to spend based on the 2-week income. You're not living this horrible lifestyle of money scarcity. And it just, oh my goodness, the number of people I help with that one thing that was life-changing was a monster amount of people. And I can't tell you how happy people are with that.
It's such a great, I love it so much. Yeah. People joke, I talk about what an awful boss I have. She's so mean. She's such a stickler. She makes me work so hard. And people are like, wait, don't you work for yourself?
Yes.
Like,
But,
yeah.
But this boss wants a bigger bonus.
My boss demands really long hours.
That's right. It's horrible. It was funny. I was talking to somebody about this locally. They were talking about possibly going to work for somebody else, and now they've always worked for themselves, and they really don't want to. They're like, there's no way I want to go work for this company that really is pressuring me to come work for them. And I told him this story, which you may have heard before, Hannah, which is the thing I love about entrepreneurs is this old saying that I will work 80 hours for myself so I don't have to work 40 hours for you.
Yep. It's so true.
I am fine with my horrible boss as long as that's me.
It's so true. It's so true. I'm getting a little better slowly. It's really taken some time. It's taken some bonuses. Sometimes the boss needs to pony up a bonus here.
See,
and there.
that's good. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
You can negotiate the raise with the boss.
Yeah. Joe, there's a couple things I just wanted to touch on before we wrap up. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. First of all, I cannot let this episode go by without just saying to you a huge thank you because, we're almost coming up on the year anniversary of Hurricane Helene, which destroyed my studio and my lifetime of work, 20 years. And at the time I was in deep trauma. I had no space in my life to say the thank yous and all of that. So I was too worried about just like, will my children have water? But you gave a donation and you directed your listeners towards my Instagram to help like give money towards people here who are really suffering and in need. And I just wanted to take this moment in public to say like, I noted that and what a mensch you are. What a good person. And thank you.
Well, there's no reason to thank me. When I achieved financial independence, I thought it was going to be these unicorns and rainbows, that was going to be the big time of my life when things got great. And what was funny was I realized when I had enough money that I was going to be okay. I went from this horrible spender in the 90s to in the mid 2010s to being okay and knowing that I'll have enough money for the rest of my life. I still showed up the next day, and that wasn't that big a deal. What was a huge deal to me was when one day I'm over at a friend of mine's house with this group of friends that we have in this little community that we're in. And I realized that no matter what happens in my life, these people are not going to let me fail. Like they will always have my back. Like that was for me, the bit, look at me getting all, oh man.
Oh, I love it.
But that is, and knowing you and knowing the stuff that you give your community and having had so much fun in your backyard and seeing just how awful it was. I mean, my wife and I spent time at Lake Lure and seeing, just the devastation. I mean, who would have thought that, hey, there's this hurricane coming. Well, I'm good. I'm going into the mountains. You know what I mean? It's
5
just,
hours from the coast. It's not supposed to happen.
it would not compute that there would be anything about a hurricane. So no, when it was the least that we could do. And I got the warm fuzzy that our community was able to help. That was really what I thought was pretty kick-ass.
It's so kick-ass. And I just, it's a testament to just like your warmth and humanity, which I love and appreciate. And the fact that people, I mean, I think people listen to Stacking Benjamins because you're funny and warm and you give like real advice for real people. And those real people gave money to people in Asheville who were suffering. That is just so beautiful to me. So
That warms my heart. Well, thank you.
To you and to your community. Thank you. Big thank you. So tell me, what is the best to people who are listening to this who have not listened to the Stacking Benjamins show before? First of all, you need to. It's so good. You definitely need to read Stacked. I think I'm going to replace my Susie Orman recommendation for my basic get up to speed on personal finances. I think I'm going to replace it with Stacked, which is so funny and personable. And the timeline method really like light bulb for me. But what's the best way to get involved in the Stackers universe, Joe? Where can people go to find you?
Oh, it's fantastic. Thank you so much. And this has been such a great time. As usual, Hannah, I think we always have had a great time ever since our mutual friend Farnoosh Tarabi introduced us. It's just been so fun. But every Monday, Wednesday, Friday is the Stacking Benjamin Show. We've had almost 2,000 episodes, so don't feel like you got to go catch up. Our show is based on taking current events and what's kind of going on in the universe and talking about what's evergreen about this? What are we all worried about with our money? On Wednesdays, we have great mentors like Hannah, who we dive in deep on a topic. On Monday, we tend to take headlines from the paper and go, okay, what do you need to know about this? Our show, the vibe of our show is two things. The format is like the Tonight Show. So all of our stackers have their favorite part of the show. Some people like the stuff we do at the end of the show, every show. Some people like stuff we do at the beginning. If you think the Tonight Show, like, oh, I always just want to watch the monologue, or I always just want to hear the band, or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. That's how we set up the show. So you don't even need to listen to the entire episode. The vibe of the show that we were really going for, and I think we do pretty well, is Car Talk. For anybody that knows the old show Car Talk, I'm not as interested in you learning a lot about a car in an hour as I am you understanding that car culture is fun. And if you just make the weird car noises and you're happy chatting with a group of people trying to learn about cars together, like that's way more fun for me than trying to give 50 tips per minute on how an HSA works.
For sure. But you know what, even with, I'm a semi-expert, right? I certainly know my lane of taxes. But even with that, I was listening to your show this week and you had this, 8 mistakes that people make with their 401k.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this thing about, which I know and talk to clients about all the time, that when you turn 50, you can put an extra $7,500 in your 401k. But the, was it Doug or OG was saying, yeah, and that starts actually the year that you turn 50. And so here I am married to someone who is 49. And I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that. I was ready to start this next year and I completely forgot. So I just want you to know that this morning, because of your show, I had a conversation with my husband and we were like, he's like, do I have to? And I was like, yes, you do.
That's what I would have been. I'd have been like, really? But I have the $2, Mom.
I know.
Come on.
Can't we spend it? No.
Damn it. Damn it. Well, apologize to him, and I'm glad it helped you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joe. It's a pleasure talking to you. I can't wait to join you on your show again, have you back. When you write your next book, I'm excited to read that. So just can't wait to stay in touch. And thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for listening. If you like the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. It really helps. I'm so grateful. My tax guide, Taxes for Humans, is available for pre-order at sunlighttax.com/book. This podcast is for education and entertainment only. Nothing in this episode should be taken as individual tax or financial advice. You can find all the tools, books, and links I reference at sunlighttax.com/podcast.